Hey folks, this is Rob Wells here with you from the law office of Robert M. Wells. Our office helps landlords deal with their landlord-tenant situations and problems. In this video, we're going to talk about if you're subject to the Tenants Protection Act, can you terminate a tenancy for cause to allow an owner themselves to move in or a relative. Before I begin though, landlords, property managers, if you're facing a situation where you're contemplating terminating a tenancy and you're subject to the Tenants Protection Act of 2019, please feel free to reach out to us below. Our information's down below. Now let's begin. Now, you guys might have a question about whether you can terminate a tenancy if you're subject to the Tenants Protection Act and either yourself or a relative wants to move in to the property. And the answer is yes. You actually can terminate a tenancy for those reasons. Now, the conditions under the Tenants Protection Act is you either has to be yourself, your spouse, your domestic partner, children, grandchildren, parents, or grandparents, and that's it. So brothers, sisters, nieces, and nephews, that won't work. That's just basically defined under the Tenants Protection Act of what qualified relatives are, and it's only basically yourself, your spouse, domestic partner, children, grandchildren, grandparents, grandchildren, parents. So here's the deal though. If your lease was entered into on or before July 1st, 2020, you can just issue a termination notice without any provisions being in your lease agreement. But if your lease started July 1st, 2020 onward, your lease either has to have this provision allowing you to terminate the tenancy for this no fault just cause, or your tenant has to consent to the termination of the tenancy. And starting on July 1st, 2020 for mobile home tenancies that are subject to the Tenants Protection Act, if you enter into a lease on or after July 1st, 2022, you have to have a term in the rental agreement that allows for the termination of the tenancy for owner move-in or their qualified relative. Now, question we'll get is, what happens if you have a post July 1st, 2020 or July 1st, 2022 lease? What can you do? Well, the law allows you to add this provision into your lease agreement under the Tenants Protection Act. And if your tenants refuse to consent to adding this term, that in and of itself could be just cause to terminate the tenancy. So, good news for owners that are subject to the Tenants Protection Act. You can move into your own units. You could have a qualified relative move into your units, and you can terminate the tenancy for this no fault just cause. And a side note, if you terminate the tenancy for this reason, you would have to give your tenants the equivalent of 1 month's worth of rent as move-out assistance. Either you can waive the last month's rent in the notice, or you can give a direct payment to your tenants within 15 days after you issue the termination notice. So that's some good news for owners out there. Now, listen, again, landlords, property managers, if you're contemplating terminating a tenancy for no fault just cause, or you're subject to the Tenants Protection Act, we're here to help you out. Our information is down below. Until next time, we'll talk to you then. Thanks.